The first thing people noticed about Emma wasn't the prosthetic. It was the silence she carried with her. Not the absence of sound. This was a hospital, after all. Monitors beeped in uneven rhythms. Gurneys rattled over polished floors. Voices overlapped in controlled urgency. Life and death negotiated constantly beneath fluorescent lights. But around Emma there was stillness. She moved through chaos without disturbing it, like she belonged to a different pace entirely. Seattle General's emergency department was already stretched thin when the trauma doors burst open. Cold air rushed in first. Then noise. Male, early 30s, multiple trauma, unstable vitals. The stretcher slammed through the threshold, paramedics shouting over one another, boots striking tile with sharp urgency. Blood soaked through layered gauze, dark and spreading fast. The smell followed iron and antiseptic colliding in the air. Doctors surged forward immediately. Emma stepped back. Not out of hesitation. Out of habit. Clear the space, someone barked. Get respiratory here now. Where's imaging? The attending physician, Dr. Mercer, moved like he owned the room. His voice cut through everything sharp, commanding, absolute. Emma stood near the edge of the trauma bay, hands already gloved, watching. Always watching. The patient's chest rose unevenly, not just shallow wrong. There was a delay, a disconnect between effort and movement. Her eyes narrowed slightly. That pattern. It didn't match the obvious injuries. BP dropping. Pulse to ready. Prep for intubation. Mercer didn't look at her when he spoke. Stay back, he said. Not unkind, just dismissive. Like she wasn't part of the equation. Emma nodded once. Yes, doctor. But she didn't leave. She stepped closer just enough. Her fingers hovered near the patient's airway, then moved with quiet certainty. She tilted his jaw slightly, adjusted his head angle by degrees so small no one else would notice. The patient reacted instantly. A low, guttural sound escaped him. Heads turned. Mercer frowned. He's crashing focus. But Emma saw it. The tension in the neck. The subtle shift in tracheal position. Pressure building where it shouldn't. Her voice came low, steady. Right side compromised. Mercer's jaw tightened. I said step back. He did. Immediately. No argument. No insistence. She stepped out of the circle of action and let them continue. But her eyes never left the patient. 30 seconds passed. Then the monitor screamed. His sats are dropping. What the hell, bag him. Get a needle now. The room erupted into motion. Mercer's voice sharpened with urgency as realization caught up to what Emma had already seen. Tension pneumothorax decompress. A resident fumbled for the kit. Too slow. Always too slow when the window was this small. Emma's fingers tightened slightly at her sides. She didn't move. Didn't step forward. Didn't break protocol. She just watched. The needle went in. Air escaped with a violent hiss. The patient's chest shuddered. Stabilize. Just enough. The room exhaled as one. Mercer straightened, pulling off his gloves with irritation bleeding into his expression. Adrenaline had nowhere to go now but outward. His eyes landed on Emma. You don't freelance in my trauma bay, he said, voice low but cutting. You don't diagnose over my shoulder. Emma met his gaze calmly. I didn't diagnose, she said. That only made it worse. You think you're subtle, Mercer snapped. You think I didn't see what you were doing? She didn't respond. Didn't defend herself. Didn't explain. He pointed toward the hallway. You're off this case. Emma nodded once. Yes, doctor. And she left. Out in the corridor, the noise dulled into something distant. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Emma leaned lightly against the wall and adjusted the strap at her prosthetic knee. The pressure point had started to ache sharp, familiar. Manageable. Always manageable. A younger nurse, Lena, approached hesitantly. Hey, are you okay? Emma gave a small nod. I'm fine. Lena hesitated. You called it before anyone else did, she said quietly. How did you even? Experience, Emma replied. Simple. Incomplete. Enough to end the question. Lena studied her for a moment longer, then glanced back toward the trauma bay. He grabbed your wrist, she added. said something weird. Emma's expression didn't change. What did he say? Lena frowned slightly. I didn't catch all of it, but it sounded like a name. Emma didn't react, but something inside her stilled further. Locked tighter. People say things, she said, especially when they're dying. Lena nodded slowly, though she didn't look convinced. Right. A call echoed from down the hall. Nurse, we need help in room 3. Emma pushed off the wall immediately. Humming. And just like that, she was moving again. Back into the rhythm. Back into the work. As if nothing had happened. But something had. Because inside that trauma bay, as the sedation settled in, as the machines took over breathing, the patient's hand twitched. His eyes fluttered open. Just for a second. And in that second, he looked straight toward the doorway where Emma had stood. His lips moved. Barely audible, but unmistakable. Iron Widow. And then, darkness took him again. Down the hall, Emma paused mid-step. Just for a fraction of a second. Like something distant had brushed against her memory. Then she kept walking. And no one noticed that her silence had changed. The emergency department didn't slow down. It never did. Not for confusion, not for tension, not for the quiet unraveling of something no one could yet name. But there was a shift. So uneasy. Like the building itself had inhaled and forgotten how to exhale. Emma moved through her tasks with the same steady rhythm, checking Roman 4 lines, adjusting monitors, documenting vitals with clean, precise handwriting. But her awareness had sharpened. Every sound felt closer. Every movement carried weight. Across the ER, Dr. Mercer stood at the trauma bay entrance, staring at the patient's chart longer than necessary. His earlier confidence had thinned just slightly, but enough to show through the cracks. He stabilized faster than expected, a resident muttered beside him. Mercer didn't answer. Because he knew why. And he didn't like it. Emma stepped into another room, assisting with a minor procedure, nothing critical, a fractured wrist, controlled, predictable, safe. But even there, her attention drifted. Not outward. Inward. Fragments. Send. Hey. Radio static cutting through screaming wind. A voice. Stay with me, don't you dare go down. She blinked once. The memory vanished. Buried again. A sudden vibration rippled through the floor. Not strong. But wrong. Emma's head lifted instantly. That wasn't hospital equipment. That wasn't infrastructure. That was external. Engines. Heavy. Multiple. At the front desk, a receptionist frowned. Do you hear that? Another nurse stepped closer to the glass doors. It's vehicles. The sound grew louder. Not chaotic like ambulances. Controlled. Deliberate. Synchronized. Emma didn't move toward the window. She didn't need to see it. She already knew. Outside, 4 black SUVs rolled into the emergency drive. Perfect spacing. Perfect timing. Engines idling low like restrained power. No lights. No markings. Just present. The kind that didn't ask permission. It took space. Inside, security radios crackled. Unidentified vehicles at bay entrance requesting. Static cut the rest. The doors slid open. Cold air swept inside again. But this time, no chaos followed. Just footsteps. Measured. Unhurried. Certain. A man entered first. Older. Silver hair cut clean and short. Uniform understated but unmistakable to anyone who understood authority beyond rank. Behind him, others followed. Not in formation, but close enough to make it clear they didn't need one. The room quieted. Not fully, but then now. The kind of quiet that spreads when people feel something they can't explain. Dr. Mercer stepped forward, irritation returning like a shield. This is a restricted area, he said. You can't just. The man looked at him. And Mercer stopped. Mid-sentence. Mid-breath. Not because he was told to. Because something in that gaze made finishing the sentence feel incorrect. I'm looking for someone, the man said calmly. His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. That. No last name. Just that. Like it was enough. Across the room, Emma finished securing a bandage, taped it clean, stepped back, then removed her gloves slowly, deliberately. She didn't rush, didn't react outwardly, but everyone around her did. Heads turned, eyes followed, because suddenly, they understood. This wasn't random. This was for her. Mercer frowned. She's a nurse, he said, forcing his voice back into control. A trainee. The man didn't look at him. Not tonight. Emma stepped forward. Each movement quiet. Precise. Her prosthetic clicked softly against the floor. A sound most people had learned to ignore. But now, it echoed. Loud. Clear. Impossible to miss. She stopped a few feet from him. There's no title. No explanation. Just acknowledgement. The man studied her. Not her face first. Her stance. Her balance. The way she held tension. Then her eyes. Recognition passed between them. Unspoken. Heavy. You stayed, he said quietly. Emma didn't answer that. Instead, what do you need? Effect. Efficient. Before he could respond, a voice broke through from behind. Strained. But urgent. That's her. Everyone turned. The trauma patient. Awake again. Valid. But conscious enough. His eyes locked onto Emma with fierce intensity. You are real. A nurse rushed to his side. Sir, don't speak. Iron Widow. The words tore out of him. The bleeding. Certain. Silence. This time. Complete. Because now, everyone heard it. Mercer frowned. What did he just say? No one answered. Because no one knew. Except one person. Emma didn't move. Didn't react. But something inside her shifted. Not panic. Not fear. Recognition. The kind that doesn't fade with time. The kind that waits. The man beside her, Admiral Ross, exhaled slowly. That confirms it, he said. Mercer turned sharply. Confirms what? Ross ignored him. His focus remained on Emma. They weren't supposed to remember you. Emma's voice stayed steady. Memory doesn't disappear just because you file it away. Ross's eyes narrowed slightly. You always said that. A monitor alarm spiked suddenly. Shove. Ardent. Then another. From a different room. Then a third. From farther down the hall. Nurses looked around. Confused. Why are multiple patients crashing at once? That's not possible. Emma's head turned slowly. Listening. Trekking. Counting. Pattern recognition unfolding behind her eyes. This isn't random, she said. Ross nodded once. No. Another alarm. Closer this time. Louder. More violent. Emma moved. Fast now. Purpose replacing stillness. Where's ICU? Second floor. She was already gone. Ross followed. Without hesitation. Behind them. The ER remained frozen for one breath longer. Then chaos returned. But different now. Shorter. More dangerous. Because this time, it wasn't just patients dying. Something else had entered the building. And only one person seemed to understand what it was. Emma didn't wait for the elevator. She took the stairs. 2 at a time. Controlled, efficient, fast without wasting movement. Behind her, Admiral Ross followed with surprising speed for a man his age. 2 of his personnel moved ahead, clearing the landing without being told. The hospital felt different now. Not louder, but tighter. Like the air itself had been pulled thinner. By the time Emma reached the ICU floor, the alarms were no longer isolated. They were layered, overlapping. One crisis bleeding into another. She pushed through the doors. The scene inside wasn't chaotic. Not yet. But it was seconds away. A patient convulsed violently in bed. Another struggled to breathe despite full oxygen support. Is there? Flatlining. Moo. Imaz's voice cut clean through the room. Not loud. Not aggressive. But absolute. The staff responded instantly. Without thinking. Without questioning. Airway first, she said, already at the nearest patient. Her hands moved fast, checking pupil response, muscle rigidity, skin tone. Her eyes narrowed. This wasn't cardiac. This wasn't respiratory. This was neurological. And fast. Too fast. What are we dealing with? A nurse asked, panic creeping in. Imaz didn't answer immediately. She was already pulling open a medication tray. Scanning. Calculating. Cross-referencing symptoms against memory. Not textbook memory. Field memory. Ross stepped closer. You recognize it. Not a question. Effect. Imaz grabbed a vial. Held it for half a second. Then, administer this, she said, handing it off. Low dose first. Watch for rebound. The nurse hesitated. That's not standard protocol. Imaz met her eyes. He doesn't have time for protocol. That was enough. The injection went in. Across the room. The flatline continued. One of the doctors, young, uncertain, started compressions. Stay with me, come on. Stop. Imaz's voice again. Sharp this time. The doctor froze. Excuse me? He's not in cardiac arrest, Imaz said. His system is shutting down upstream. You're treating the symptom. That monitor says. I know what it says. A beat. Tension stretched tight. Then Ross spoke. Do what she says. That ended it. The doctor stepped back. Imaz moved in. Her hands adjusted the patient's head, checked airway tension, then reached for another medication, different this time. More precise. More dangerous. Push this now, she ordered. The nurse obeyed. No hesitation now. Seconds passed. Too long. Then, a flicker. A single blip on the monitor. Then another. Then, a rhythm. But for real. The room exhaled. But Imaz didn't, because she wasn't done. She turned. Already moving to the next patient. Same presentation, she muttered. Ross heard it. Coordinated. Imaz nodded once. Deliberate. Her eyes scanned the room again. Not the patients. The equipment. The Roman 4 lines. The connections. The small things. Then she saw it. A drip line. Perfectly normal at first glance. Too clean. Too precise. She stepped closer. Examined the fluid. Clear. Odorless. Invisible. Who hung this? She asked quietly. A nurse hesitated. I think it was already there when we came on shift. Imaz's jaw tightened. It's not standard. Ross stepped beside her. Contaminated? Imaz didn't answer. She didn't need to. She followed the line. To the bag. To the to the floor. A single drop. Barely visible. But there. Her voice dropped. Shut down all external Roman 4 supplies. Now. The room froze. That's going to cut off half the floor. Do it. This time. There was no hesitation. Nurses moved fast. Disconnecting. Replacing. Flushing lines. Ross spoke into his radio. Lockdown medical supply chain. Full audit. No exceptions. Imaz stepped back. Breathing steady. What her mind? Moving fast. Too fast. This isn't just poisoning, she said. Ross looked at her. What is it? Imaz's eyes darkened slightly. Recognition settling deeper. It's a test. A beat. Ross didn't like that answer. Explain. They're not trying to kill everyone, she said. Not yet. Then what? They're measuring response time, decision making, who notices, who acts. Ross went still. Because he understood. They're watching, he said. Imaz nodded. Yes. A sudden crack echoed through the ceiling. Mel. Sure. Violent. Everyone looked up. Then, the lights flicker. Once. Twice. Then hell. Emma didn't look up. She was already moving again. Where's your main control system? She asked. Ross answered immediately. Basement level, restricted access. Take me there. Mercer's voice cut in from the doorway. You're not taking her anywhere. Everyone turned. He stood there, breathing hard, trying to reclaim control, trying to understand something far beyond him. This is still my hospital, he said, and she is still your best chance of keeping it standing. Ross didn't raise his voice, but it landed harder than anything Mercer could say. Mercer hesitated. Just for a second. Emma didn't wait. She walked past him. Not aggressively. Not defiantly. Just moving forward. And this time, no one tried to stop her. Because now, they understood. She wasn't overstepping. She was the only one who knew where the line actually was. And it had already been crossed. The descent to the lower levels felt like entering a different world. The polished floors gave way to older concrete. The lights dimmed, not failing, but weaker. Less maintained. Less trusted. Every step echoed louder here. Every sound carried farther. Emma walked ahead without hesitation. She didn't slow. Didn't ask for direction again. Because she already knew the layout. Not from maps. From memory. Ross noticed. You've been down here before. Not a question. Emma didn't look back. Long time ago. That was all she gave. Behind them, 2 Navy personnel moved silently, scanning corners, checking shadows. But even they felt it. This wasn't just a hospital basement anymore. It felt like something had been waiting here. They reached a secured door. Old system. Manual keypad. No biometric scanner. No modern override. Emma stepped forward. Her fingers hovered over the keys. Then moved. That. Precise. Ross watched closely. You remember the codes. Emma paused for half a second. No, she said. And pressed the final key. The door unlocked. Inside, the control room hummed with low electrical tension. Old terminals. Backup systems. Infrastructure that existed beneath the surface of everything modern. This is where control lived when everything else failed. Emma stepped in. Her eyes adjusted instantly. Scanning. Absorbing. Then, she stopped. Ross saw it immediately. What is it? Emma didn't answer right away. She was looking at one screen. Only one. A blinking indicator. Smell. So. They're wrong. Someone's already here, she said quietly. Ross's posture shifted instantly. Where? Emma stepped closer to the terminal. Her fingers brushed the edge of the console. What? She pointed. Inside the system. Ross frowned. That's not possible. We shut down external access. Emma shook her head. You shut down entry points. A beat. They were already inside. Sighs. Heavy. Understanding settling in. A low sound echoed through the room. Not mechanical. Not structural. Footsteps. Everyone turned. From the far corner, a figure stepped into view. Hospital scrubs. Face partially shadowed. Posture relaxed. Too relaxed. Not scared. Not surprised. Waiting. Emma's body went still. Not tense. Not reactive. Just still. Recognition hit before thought. You took longer than I expected, the figure said calmly. Voice control. Measure. Ross's hand moved toward his weapon. Identify yourself. The figure ignored him. Eyes locked only on Emma. I was starting to think you wouldn't come down yourself. Emma took one step forward. Glow. Deliberate. Who are you? Ross demanded. The figure smiled faintly. Not amused. Not friendly. Just certain. Someone she remembers. That was enough. Emma's voice came low. barely above a whisper. You shouldn't be here. The figure tilted his head slightly. And yet here I am. Ross looked between them. You know him. Emma didn't answer. Because the truth was already visible. In the way she stood. In the way she looked at him. Not fear. Not shock. History. You built this system, the man said, gesturing toward the terminals. Failsafes, redundancies all designed to protect assets like you. Emma's jaw tightened slightly. And now look at it, he continued. All it took was one trigger and the entire structure bent. Ross stepped forward. You're done. Step away from the system. The man didn't move. Didn't even acknowledge him. Tell me something, he said to Emma. When you disappeared, did you really think they'd just let you stay gone? Emma's voice stayed steady. I didn't disappear. A beat. I stepped away. The man smiled again. This time, colder. No one steps away from something like that. Silence stretched. Then, he moved. Thus, a small device appeared in his hand. Compact. Military gray. Ross reacted instantly. Down. But Emma was already moving. Not away. Forward. Her hand struck his wrists. Precise. Chuck. The device slipped. Hit the ground. One of Ross's men lunged. Secured it. The room froze again. The man looked at her. Not angry. Not surprised. Almost depressed. You're still faster, he said quietly. Emma didn't respond. Ross stepped in. Weapon raised now. This ends here. The man finally looked at him. Really looked. No, he said calmly. It doesn't. A beat. The lights cut. Darkness swallowed the room. Not flickering. Not failing. Controlled. Emma's voice came instantly. Don't move. Silence. Breathing. The hum of systems gone quiet. Then, emergency lights kicked in. Distorted. The man was gone. Ross turned sharply. Find him. His team moved immediately. But Emma didn't follow. She stepped back to the terminal. Because she understood something they didn't, this wasn't an escape. It was a transition. Her fingers moved across the console again. Faster now. More urgent. Ross returned. He's gone. No sign of. Not gone, Emma said. She turned the screen toward him. Data scrolled. Patterns forming. He didn't come here to fight, she said. He came to finish something. Ross's expression hardened. What? Emma met his eyes. The system. A beat. He just activated the final phase. As if on cue. The building above them trembled. Not from failure. From something waking up. And this time, it wasn't subtle. The tremor didn't fade. It deepened. Like something massive had shifted inside the bones of the building. Dust loosened from the ceiling. A low mechanical groan echoed through the walls. Ross steadied himself against the console. What did he do? Emma didn't answer immediately. Her eyes were locked on the screen. Data streams changing. Rewriting. Escalating. Then she spoke. He didn't just access the system. A beat. He gave it a directive. Ross's jaw tightened. What kind of directive? Emma's fingers moved again. Pulling up deeper layers. Hidden protocols. Things no civilian system should even contain. Containment, she said. Ross went still. Not the word itself, but the way she said it. Explain, he demanded. Emma turned to him. How? Focused. Certain. This hospital isn't just a hospital, she said. It's a fallback site. For what? Emma held his gaze. For incidents they can't control anywhere else. A long silence followed. Because now, everything made sense. The layered systems. The hidden overrides. The speed of military response. And why? They came for her. Ross exhaled slowly. They turned your own system against us. Emma nodded once. Yes. Another tremor. Stronger. Closer. Then, a sound. Heavy locks engaging. One after another. Above them, doors sealed. Corridors blocked. Entire sections of the hospital cut off. Ross's radio crackled violently. Multiple lockdowns triggered. Repeat, this is not standard protocol. ICU is sealed, we can't get out. Patients are trapped. Ross clenched his fists. Overrided. Trying systems aren't responding. Emma turned back to the terminal. They've isolated command authority, she said. Only one access point left. Ross looked at her. Where? Emma didn't hesitate. Central core. A beat. Ross understood immediately. That's 3 levels down. And manually controlled, Emma added. Which meant no remote fix. No shortcut. No delay. They had to go there. Now. Ross turned to his team. Move. They didn't question it. Didn't hesitate. But Mercer's voice echoed from the doorway behind them. You're not going anywhere. Everyone turned. He stood there. Breathing hard. Eyes wide. Trying to hold onto control that had already slipped away. People are trapped upstairs, he said. Patients, Steph. A man met his gaze. I know. Then we stay here and fix this, Mercer snapped. You don't run deeper into whatever this is. I'm not running, Emma said. Her voice wasn't louder, but it cut deeper. I'm stopping it. Mercer shook his head. You don't even know what it is. Emma took a step toward him. And for the first time, there was something behind her calm. Not anger. Not emotion. Certainty. Yes, she said quietly. I do. Silence. Ross stepped forward. Doctor, if she's wrong, we lose time. A beat. If she's right, we lose everything. Mercer looked between them. Then back at Emma. And for the first time, he saw it. Not a nurse. Not a subordinate. Something else. Something he didn't understand. He stepped aside. Then go, he said. Emma nodded once. No triumph. No acknowledgement. Just movement. They descended deeper. The air changed again. Colder. Thinner. This part of the building wasn't meant for patients. Or staff. It was built for control. And containment. When they reached the central core, the doors were already open. That alone was wrong. Emma slowed. Just slightly. Ross noticed. What is it? Emma stepped inside. The room was massive. Circular. Screens lining the walls. Systems running in synchronized layers. And in the center, a single console. Wait. The same man stood there. Still. Like he had never left. I was wondering how long it would take you, he said. Ross raised his weapon instantly. End it, now. The man didn't move. Didn't react. This isn't something you stop with a gun, he said. Emma stepped forward. Then what is it? The man looked at her. And for the first time, there was something almost human in his expression. Flitter. A beat? For what? Ross demanded. The man's eyes never left Emma. For something that was never supposed to survive. Silence. Emma's voice came low. You mean me? The man didn't deny it. You are a variable, he said. An error in the system. Emma took another step forward. And now? The man's hand rested lightly on the console. Now, I fix it. He pressed a single key. The room came alive. Alarms. Lights. Systems escalating. Ross moved. But Emma was faster. She reached the console. Her hands moving across it. Faster than before. Not reacting. Not guessing. Knowing. Ross watched. Realization hitting him in full. You built this. Emma didn't look up. Yes. The man's expression shifted slightly. You always were the best at finishing what you started. Emma's voice stayed steady. No. Her fingers struck the final command. I'm the best at stopping it. The system froze. Then shut down. Everything. Silence crashed over the room. Heavy. Absolute. The man stared at the dead console. Then at her. And slowly, for the first time, he stepped back. Defeat. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just accept it. Ross moved in. His team followed. The man didn't resist. Because he knew. It was over. Silence settled over the central core like dust after a collapse. Not relief. Not yet. Just the absence of immediate catastrophe. The system screens remained dark. No alarms. No warnings. No movement. Emma's hands rested lightly on the console. Still. Steady. Behind her, Ross gave a single nod. His team moved in. Weapons lowered but ready. They secured the man without resistance. No struggle. No final attempt. Because he understood something the others didn't. This was never about winning. It was about finishing a task. And now, that task had failed. Emma stepped back from the console. Her posture didn't change. Her breathing didn't spike. But something inside her released. Not weakness. Not exhaustion. Just wait. Ross approached slowly. It's contained? He asked. Emma nodded once. For now. That answer mattered. Because both of them knew. Systems like this didn't end. They paused. They adapted. They returned. But not today. Ross studied her. Longer this time. Not as an asset. Not as a name from a file. As a person. You could have left, he said quietly. Emma didn't look at him. I did. Ross shook his head slightly. No, he said. You walked away from them. A beat. But not from this. Emma didn't argue. Because she knew. He was right. Above them, the hospital slowly came back to life. Locks disengaged. Lights brightened. Voices returned. Confusion first. Then relief. And somewhere, gratitude. Even if they didn't fully understand why. When Emma returned to the ER, everything looked the same. But it wasn't. People moved differently. Slow. More aware. And when they saw her, they didn't look away anymore. They looked at her. Not with fear. Not with doubt. With understanding. Dr. Mercer stood near the trauma bay. Waiting. That alone said everything. Emma walked toward him. Same steady pace. Same quiet presence. He didn't speak immediately. Didn't rush. Then, I was wrong. Simple. Erect. Heavy. Emma met his eyes. Yes, she said. No cruelty. No edge. Just truth. Mercer nodded slowly. I should have listened. Emma glanced toward the patient. Still alive. Still breathing. You will next time, she said. That was enough. The patient, the one who had spoken her name, was awake again. Weaker now. But stable. His eyes found her immediately. I knew it was you, he said. Emma checked his vitals. Adjusted his line. You should rest. He gave a faint, tired smile. They said you didn't exist. Emma didn't respond. Because that had been the point. He studied her for a moment longer. Yes, they were wrong. Emma finished her checks. Then quietly. No, she said. They weren't. Outside. The black SUVs were gone. No lights. No sound. No trace they had ever been there. Only the faint marks on the pavement. Already fading. Ross stood near the entrance as Emma finished her shift. Waiting. But not pushing. When she stepped outside, the air was calm. Ordinary. Like nothing had happened. Ross spoke first. The offer still stands. Emma didn't need clarification. She adjusted the strap on her prosthetic. Tested her balance. I know. We can give you everything back, Ross said. Resources, authority, protection. Emma looked at the hospital behind her. Lights glowing. People moving, Life continuing. Then back at him. I already have what I need. Ross held her gaze. Then nodded. Because he understood. Some people weren't meant to return to power. They were meant to stand quietly. Where they made the most difference. Emma turned. Walked back inside. No spotlight. No recognition ceremony. Just another shift. Another patient. Another life that might need saving. And this time, no one called her a rookie. No one told her to step back. Because now, they knew. Not who she had been, but what she was. And sometimes, that mattered more. The world would never know her name. Not the real one. No headlines. No medals. No stories told in public. Just quiet moments. Where someone lived. Because she was there. And that was enough. If this story stayed with you, if you felt the weight of what it means to be unseen, to carry strength without recognition, then don't just scroll past. Like, subscribe, and comment what you would have done.